So, if God were to tell you to jump over here and slice my skin off my face, would you do it?
I would regard that as not from God. I would regard it as like a mental problem.
So if you believe that God told you to do that, you would, well, you're saying you just wouldn't believe that God would tell you to do that. So were the Midianites created in the image of God when God told them to go slaughter the Midianites?
Well, if you were saying back then, before,
sure,
I believe
were the Midianites created in the image of God? And did God tell them to go kill the Midianites?
Do you want me to explain the covenants? No, I believe people can be. I believe that God can wipe us all out. Or
did God instruct them to kill the Midianites?
Yeah.
Then why would you not believe that God is instructing you to kill me?
Because I'm under a different covenant, right? I'm under a Christian covenant.
Okay. Well, maybe you should have shown up with that Christian covenant, because what I asked you to do was solve this problem by appealing to God, and you can't. Because
I believe I can.
Because I just gave you a gazillion and 1 minutes to try to do so. And we didn't get there because you are just asserting that because they're created in God's image and you're created in God's image, you are under some obligation to not do so. But that obligation doesn't come from anything other than your say-so, because you didn't present any sort of model. You just said, God is, and because God is, I must not. And that is not a model.
Well, if you were saying back then, before. Do you want me to explain the covenants? Because I'm under a different covenant. Right?
Because I'm under a different covenant, Christian covenant. Okay.
So this is one of those things that I oftentimes fail the litmus test of Christianity and my inability to believe in Christianity once I became awakened to all the mishaps of Christianity. You see, to say that you're under a different covenant is to say that your God is different today than he was in the past. But if your God is supposed to be the same God for all times, then your God cannot be different from who he was in the past. That if your God in the past told you to genocide all the Ammonites and genocide all the Midianites, then your God today should be able to tell you to genocide all the people of any other land. I literally had this said to me when we was getting ready to go off to Desert Storm, that the military pastors of that day were saying that God was for the Americans and against the Iraqis. So any deaths that we cause during that time frame are legitimate deaths because God has instructed George Bush at the time that we were to utterly destroy and annihilate the Iraqi forces. Now, of course, most of those forces surrendered and most of them pulled back. There was only a few skirmishes that actually happened, but annihilation never happened. So when you parcel your Bible to make it fit your modern day narrative and your modern day morality, you are being disingenuous concerning your Bible in itself. You see, the people of that day back then, if a king said that we are to annihilate a people because God said so, then the people believed that so wholeheartedly, because back then, these were people who believed that rain came because they believed in their God, that earthquakes happened because of the belief in their God, that their God was being very active in their lives, and that when they suffered drought, it was because of their unrighteousness and had nothing to do with the weather patterns of the earth. So since people believed that more wholeheartedly back then people were more accepted of their God, saying that they are to genocide a group of people. Now, as we have grown scientifically and we have grown morally, we know that genocide, no matter how you try to justify it, is wrong. Completely and utterly wrong. If you just apply the rule of whatever you would want or not want done to yourself, you would or would not do to someone else, then the idea of genocide becomes evil. Because you would not want to be genocided if a group of people believing in a different God said that their God has told them and instructed them to genocide you. you would see that as being evil. You would see that as being wrong because you do not want it done to yourself. This is where most people who have problems with Islamic extremists who are Christian, they have this problem with them and say that they are under a false god because these are people who are saying that their God is telling them that they must genocide the infidels, kill all the infidels. And so the Christian world goes against that and says no, because they don't want to be genocided. Should not the same be returned? If your God is saying genocide the Muslim population, then your God is just as bad as their God who is saying that they should genocide you. So at the end of the day, it is not a God that determines genocide. It is man who is determining genocide. But when you try to hold on to this faith and see what was written in this book, you see the contradiction or the conflict between your morals today and the morals of your God. And to utilize something saying we're under a different covenant. Because Jesus never told you to genocide, although he did call the Canaanite people dogs. But the fact that your Jesus never said genocide these people or genocide those people, when you look at it historically for the time frame that they were in, they were being oppressed by Roman rule. So therefore, there would be no genocide of another people spoken by the writers of the Bible at that time frame. But they were still looking for a Messiah who would overthrow the Romans and establish this godly kingdom all over the earth. And in order to establish this godly kingdom all over the earth, you were going to have to, in that time frame, genocide the people of the Roman Empire in order to accomplish that. And then go about genociding the rest of the world in order to force them over to your belief that your Messiah is the true Messiah and the reigning king over the earth and the reigning Son of God. So y'all have a great day with that one. And always remember, you have to free yourself to be yourself because your greatness is non-negotiable. Good journey, good vibrations.